Hey everyone, welcome to the 2019 Brain Health Online Summit. I am Amy Zellmer from Faces of TBI.
And I'm Dr. Jeremy Schmo from Midwest Functional Neurology Center.
And we are so excited to bring you this year's lineup. We have a nice overview for you guys so you can hear all the great speakers and the topics we have coming up for the month of March. So how it's going to work is each weekday during the month of March, you will get an email with a link to that day's presentation. And that presentation will stay online for 24 hours so that all of our countries can watch it on their time zone. You can watch from the comfort of your own home. And in that link, you'll also have some links to some goodies that some of the presenters have for you as well. And so to kick off the summit next week will be Dr. Jeremy Schmo. You want to tell them what you're going to be talking about?
Yeah, so what I'm going to do is break down the functional neurological exam and kind of go through the whole process of going from the history to breaking down the underlying autonomic dysfunction that might be occurring with TBI, going through gait analysis, a cerebellar examination, what you need to look for when you're assessing eye movement. So looking at, can people keep their eyes steady, move their eyes quickly, tolerate motion? So a whole in-depth cranial nerve examination. Also looking at balance, posture, gait, breathing mechanics, and on top of that, looking at what's going on with patient structure. So looking at the structural aspects, the neurological aspects, and looking at some blood chemistry and metabolic issues that could be going on and trying to basically intertwine that together and make the functional neurological examination make sense, right?
Awesome.
And then on my second talk, I'm going to talk about sleep and concussion because so many patients that I see have insomnia, have trouble getting to sleep, staying asleep, they're waking up in the middle of the night. So I'm going to break down the connections of the circuits that can get off when you injure your brain and also the metabolic dysfunction that can occur and changes in your cortisol circadian rhythm, melatonin pattern. So I'm super excited about that one. I think it's going to, make people, really understand why they have insomnia, and it's going to make things make sense. And then before I do my neurological exam, I'm also going to kind of break down why I do this and, why I got into the brain injury world. So I'll tell my story as well.
Awesome. And then in our first week of the summit, we're also going to have Dr. Tom O'Brien.
Yeah, so I'm super excited about Tom O'Brien. I've read both of his books. He has a recent book out that's all about the brain and looking at not only neurological aspects about, brain health, but what's going on with diet and nutrition. And Tom was the developer of the Gluten Summit. And after the Gluten Summit, things just really, blew up for him, which is awesome. So super excited about his talk and go from there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then we will have Kim Baker from Love Your Brain Foundation, and she's going to give a broad overview of all the great things they have going on at Love Your Brain, including their yoga program, their survivor and caregiver retreats, and their Mindful March program. So super excited to hear from her. And then we'll have Dr. Brian Sass from Midwest Functional Neurology Center.
Yeah, so Dr. Sass, he's one of my clinical associates at MFNC, and he's going to talk about dysautonomia in traumatic brain injury. So many patients develop autonomic dysfunction in POTS post-TBI. So he's going to break all those connections down and make things make sense. So that's a really good talk.
Mm-hmm. And then we're going to have Alex Schrader, and he is one of our survivors on the summit, and he is going to share his experience, what happened to him and how he struggled and how he found the summit is actually, his mom found the summit. And so it's this big full circle moment that he found the summit and then got help at MFNC. And then the second week, we're going to kick off with Dr. Titus Chu.
Yeah, so Dr. Titus Chu, he's one of my friends in the functional neurology world. So he's going to talk about his story. He's also a brain injury survivor from, I believe he got hit by a car on a scooter when he was in Japan years ago, but didn't really linked together that he actually had a brain injury because he was in so much pain from breaking his ribs and, neck and shoulder injury, but then started developing, changes in his thought patterns and anxiety. And he looped back around and started fixing himself with, functional neurology and functional medicine. And he wrote a book, a new book. It's called Brain Save, how you can basically flip things around in 6 weeks. So that's a really good book.
Mm-hmm. And he's a really great guy. I'm excited for his. And then we have Sherrick Peck, who will be talking about the central nervous system and vibration and the vagus nerve and how all of that is interrelated to our sympathetic nervous system. Really great conversation with him, followed by Dr. Eric Reese.
Yeah, so Dr. Reese, he's another one of the clinical associates at MFNC, and he's going to be talking about headaches. So the different mechanisms that can happen with headache and TBI, not only what's going on from a peripheral structural standpoint, issues such as neck whiplash trauma or neurogenic inflammation, but he talks about eye movements and autonomic function, how that can lead to headaches as well. So he does a really good job at breaking these mechanisms down from a peripheral and central standpoint. And he's just an awesome guy. He's from North Dakota. So all of our North Dakota patients love him, and he's the one that actually worked with Alex. So yeah.
Awesome.
Yep.
And then we have Dr. David Bieberdorf, who is also from North Dakota. Yeah. And he's going to talk about the eye-brain connection and some of his tools in his toolkit and how he helps his patients figure out what's going on with their vision problems and their vestibular system. And then we have Elizabeth Wilson, who is a brain tumor survivor, and she's going to share her awesome story, her struggles, and how she found a lot of different providers who were able to help her, including Dr. Jeremy.
Yeah.
And then the third week of the summit, we kick off with Dr. Jack Wolfson.
Yeah, so Dr. Wolfson, he's a DO. His wife's also a chiropractor. And he was in the cardiovascular medical world for years and then decided that he wanted to get out and get into the functional medicine world and start helping people with diet and nutrition and lifestyle recommendations. He's written, I think, one book. There might be more, but he is the paleo cardiologist. So he's going to be talking about heart health and how that can affect brain health.
Mm-hmm. And then we'll follow that with Todd Pachetta, who is another one of our survivors, and he is from Australia, and so he has a cool accent. And he's going to share his story, another full circle moment. He found Dr. Jeremy through the Brain Health Summit as well. So he'll share his whole journey and how the summit really helped him kind of put things together. And then we will hear from Frank Asaban.
Yeah, so Frank, he is the developer of, it's called Virtualis. So it's virtual reality vestibular rehabilitation. And it's not just for vestibular, it's for visual vertigo, balance disorders, anxiety, fatigue, depression, you name it. He's developed really cool gamification of these eye exercises and vestibular function with virtual reality goggles on. And it's something that we utilize at MFNC in addition to the other therapies that we use. So that's an amazing talk. I think everybody's going to be excited about that one.
Mm-hmm. And then we'll hear from Linda Wells and April Toivonen, and they're going to talk about dating after brain injury. They're both speech language pathologists, and they're going to kind of break it down really well for the survivor. And I think any practitioners listening will also get a lot of great info from their conversation. And then we'll end that week out with Mark Parrish, who is an retired NHL player. I'm going to let you take that one over, Jeremy.
Oh, yeah. So Mark got referred into us. He's local. He's from Minnesota, from Bloomington. And he's going to talk about his story of, I mean, who knows how many brain injuries that he's had, but he got better doing our 5-day intensive program. So he's going to break down, the struggles that he had and how he's an advocate now for the brain injury community. And He's doing a lot of great things out there for coaching with hockey. So he's just a great guy. And I think everybody's going to love his talk.
Mm-hmm. And then we're going to hear from Molly Parker, who is a PT and also a brain injury survivor. I'm really excited to hear from her as well. And then we'll hear from Dean Four, who is the founder of Entangled Biome. He is going to share all about CBD oil, how it's made, how it's produced, where it comes from, what to look for, and how it can help after brain injury. And then we'll hear from Dr. Cassie Cass.
Yeah, so Dr. Cassie, she is another clinical associate at MFNC, and she's going to be talking about cognitive rehabilitation and TBI and how you can use different strategies to activate she's going to break down all the different areas of the brain, but one of them is called the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, and how you can utilize, functional neurology approaches to activate the brain and improve cognitive function. And I believe she's going to get into some of the underlying nutritional strategies that you can use as well to improve cognition.
Mm-hmm. And then we're going to hear from Mike Harris, who is a former NFL player. That's where I got confused last time.
Yeah, so Mike found us. He was referred into our office, and I believe that it was an AV malformation in the brain that burst and had to go into immediate surgery, and that basically ended his NFL career. He was still suffering from symptoms, therefore he found us and did our week intensive program and just made huge leaps and bounds in his recovery process. He worked with Dr. Reese all week, and that's going to be a great talk. I think he has a foundation that he has right now, so he goes all over the state talking about just helping youth, and I think that's going to be a great talk.
Yeah, and I know he's super excited to share his story. So I think that's going to be a really wonderful conversation with him. And then we'll end out the summit with Dr. Schmo here. And he, like he already said, he'll be talking about sleep after concussion. So I think we have a really amazing summit. And I know I say it every year that this one's the best one yet, but this one's the best one. Do you agree?
I agree. 100%.
Yeah, so be sure that you are registered. Go to thebrainhealthonlinesummit.com. And even if you've watched the summits in the past, you still have to be registered for this year's summit. So make sure you're signed up, and you will start getting information right away about the summit. And if you're not able to watch all of them live, or if you want to get head start on them, you can purchase all the recordings for $29. And the proceeds from that are going to the Love Your Brain Foundation. So it goes to a great cause. It's a win-win. Anything you want to add, Jeremy?
I think that's good.
Awesome. So we'll see you guys next week with the summit.